Pokemon Gold, Silver, Crystal. Then we had Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, and you remember that when it came out, it wasn't as different as the other games. So then it was just this whole period where it was like, and then Fire Red and whatnot comes out, brings that nostalgia feeling back. Then when Diamond, Diamond, Pearl, and what was the third one?
Platinum.
Platinum. Yeah, Diamond, Pearl, Platinum came out. It brought that feeling back because it was something new since you could play online with friends. And with the new one coming out, it's kind of like the whole thing with Ruby and Sapphire. And it's like
the same thing can be said with the Gold and Silver remakes. I mean, I understand Gold and Silver and Crystal were some of the best games in the entire franchise, but there's only so much you can do with an old game to make it interesting. The Pokewalker wasn't enough. They didn't. They made Heart Gold, Soul Silver way too easy. You could beat that game in one sitting if you tried. That's not a sign of a good RPG. At all.
Was that sense of adventure? That sense of adventure that we had when we were younger, when we were playing those games, the original versions. I remember how it felt like from playing Red, Blue, and Yellow, and then moving to Gold, Silver, and Crystal. I remember it was like you were in two separate cities. You can go back to the original city. It just felt great. It felt like that was how it should be. And then you were in a completely different place. Couldn't go back to anywhere you were before. It just seems to me like the remakes. The remakes were good for nostalgia. If you were nostalgic, if you wanted to play the games again, the remakes were great. But you still need to go forward. Like I don't think anyone really wants to see a remake of Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald.
I know me and Bumble don't, but we all know it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
But it's a bad idea. I think what they need to do is they need to take a step back, look at the series, and think what should be done next. I think what needs to be done next is it brought into the 3D plane. I don't mean Pokemon 3DS. I don't mean that. I mean the one game that's been talked about for years that they just could never do, but they probably could do it now on the Wii U, and that is bringing Pokemon into the 3D plane, making it an adventure RPG. Kind of like you take the elements from like Pokemon Stadium, where you can have like these live action battles while you're moving around like you would in Legend of Zelda. I think bringing that together would bring a completely different experience from what you're used to, would make it a lot more exciting. It would also make the game a bit longer, and it would also bring more strategy elements into it. It would be kind of like Pokemon meets Final Fantasy in a way.
I kind of like that idea.
I think that needs to be done at this point in order to keep the Pokemon series fresh. In terms of protagonists, I also think that maybe the series might need a reboot. There are too many Pokemon. I think that when you had like maybe 251 Pokemon, and maybe a few of them from the other games are kind of memorable, but then you have a bunch of other ones that aren't necessary, that were made just for the sake of being made. I think they kind of need to step back, look at what all the Pokemon are, bring in what needs to be brought in, and bring that into a whole kind of like series where you keep accelerating and keep going forward. Kind of like you start off at Power Town, just like you did in the original game. Then you go on to the Johto region, and you go on to whatever region they were. I think it was Sinnoh.
Hoenn, Sinnoh, Unova.
Yeah, you go to every single one of those, and you just keep advancing and keep going forward. This way you always have something new to do. That would be something interesting. It would be almost like an MMO, but without all the crappy people bothering you. It to me needs to be... It's something that needs to be done at this point. Otherwise, the Pokemon series is just going to stay the same, and it's only going to appeal to one subsection, which is going to be young kids who haven't experienced what we experienced when we were younger.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on one aspect of what you just said. You talked about how the game would be good if you didn't have all those crappy people bothering you. The crappy people bothering you is what makes an RPG an RPG, and especially if they're
MMO.
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh.
Especially if those other crappy people are actually other human players where they could challenge you to battles, and it could be just like in the anime when Ash was challenged by random trainers. It'd be interesting to see. I know it'll never happen, but
actually, you're absolutely right. What I meant by this is that there's always trolls out there who are obviously not looking to actually play the game the way it should be played. They're just looking to disrupt. And that's what I meant by crappy people, is that a lot of those MMOs have those, and that's what needs to be on. But your idea, the whole thing where there are other people who can challenge you, that's actually a very good, that's a very good idea. Everybody's doing their own thing. When you, instead of having to just have a bunch of NPCs, you have actual people trying to compete against the gym trainers and stuff. It would bring a whole different aspect of the game. It'd be like there's this thing on the PlayStation called PlayStation Home, where there's a bunch of people on it. And you're walking around, you go to this, you go to that, there are people everywhere, they're all talking to each other. It would be something similar, where you can do your own thing, you don't have to be bothered by anyone. It's on console, I think, nobody, if you want to go challenge someone, you just walk up to them and be like, hey, you want to fight? Fight, and you gain experience points for winning, and whatever else. I think that would be a very interesting idea. It's just, in a perfect world, it would be the greatest idea, but there's always people out there that's going to come in and looking to just do something completely different in the game loud, just for a few laughs. Those are the people that shouldn't be there.
Yeah, but you're gonna get that. You're gonna get that no matter what game you play.
Absolutely.
That's something that you really cannot fix in any way. But speaking of series that have kind of lost sight of what they used to be, or have not tried hard enough to differentiate themselves, let's talk about Sonic.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Now, wait, before we go any further, do not get me wrong. I am a fan of the Sonic the Hedgehog series. James knows this very well. He's criticized me several times for things I've done, like getting Generations Day 1, where he thought I should have waited for a bit.
I think when it comes down to the fact that I even made that criticism, and there's a lot of other people who made that same criticism, I think what it comes down to is that it shows that the Sonic series has lost really sight of what it once was.
I agree.
How each game just felt like it just got better than the other one, and then somewhere down the line, it just didn't click anymore. It's like you saw the Dreamcast come out, you saw games like Sonic Adventure come out, which were critically acclaimed at the time, and then I don't know what happened since then. Something just happened, everything just fell apart.
Yeah.
It's like they lost the ability to innovate, and that's what Sonic needs at this point, because his number one thing is the speed that he has and how fast he goes. They need to do something with that. Do something like, I know they tried to do other things, tried to bring RPG elements and all this stuff, but they have to focus on the speed. And in terms of the story's always been kind of simplistic, just like it is with Mario and with Zelda. You have basically one central enemy. In Mario, it would be Bowser. In Sonic, it would be Robotnik, or maybe some other enemy. I'm sorry?
His name is Eggman now.
Well, yeah, Eggman. I don't know why they call him Eggman, but okay.
No. I'll tell you why. Because in Japan, where Sonic originated, he was always called Eggman. When the first Sonic game was brought to America, they changed his name to Robotnik. And then once it got past Sonic Adventure 1, they just decided, you know what, we'll keep it the way the Japanese had it and just name him Eggman.
That worked.
It was a translation thing between Japanese and English where they called him Robotnik.
Well, I don't see the big deal with Eggman. Eggman, to me, would have gotten over a lot more than Robotnik. It seems like a more simplistic name, which for us as kids would have been easy.
Dr. Ivo Robotnik. Go on.
Yeah, Robotnik versus Eggman. Eggman's a more simplistic name. Not sure why he decided to...
Because he made robots out of animals and used them to attack other animals.
Oh.
That's about as simple as you can get.
I guess it comes down to the idea that the West likes to come up with cliche names for things, especially when it comes to villains, and it comes down to